All right, everyone, this is Jupyter IPython Dev meeting for December 1st, 2015. And Matthias has notes about working on multi-select and helping a new contributor get started, but he's not here. So we'll start with Safia.
Awesome. So most of my work over the past week has been documentation type stuff. I spent a ton of time cleaning up our ops handbook, which if you have access to that internally, you can check it out and let me know how it looks. I've also been working on sorry.
It looks like it's echoing.
Someone's echoing. Okay, I think he muted. Sorry, bad echo. I've been working on fleshing out a more detailed contribution guide on a fork of the Jupyter documentation that I have, and the link for that is in the hackpad if you want to check it out. I also opened up an issue like early last week regarding sort of standardizing a little bit an approach to tagging issues, or just making sure that we have each issue tagged across all our repositories to make it easier for new contributors, and also if people want to check it out and give their feedback. My side project of building a racket kernel and then also documenting the process has been going pretty well. I've got a pretty lengthy blog post going about building kernels. If you want to kind of check it out while it's in progress, I'll be glad to figure out how to share posts on Tumblr and get that out to you. Also been working on some random code-related PRs here and there across the different repos. And finally, I opened up the call for proposals for Jupyter Day Chicago, and I tweeted it out. So if you want to retweet it out to your friends and just get people submitting their interesting Jupyter topics, that'd be awesome. Focus for the next week is more of the same, kind of cleaning up the docs and a couple of PRs here and there. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks.
I think.
And looks like Peter and Gino next.
Sure. Hi. We haven't been in a couple weeks, so this is kind of a brain dump of things that have been going on, just to make sure we're writing things down. But I think most important, we started doing PyPy releases of the incubator projects, sort of making them independent of the Docker image that we put up there earlier, just to get people to try it, so they're now installable. We're actually going to do a release sometime this week, maybe today, where we've moved the notebook-related extensions up to Jupyter 4.0 compatibility. That we're back on 3.2, so the port was actually pretty straightforward. I think we opened a couple bugs against notebook and IPyWidgets and so on related to that, so it was a good exercise to go through. Like we talked about in New York with Brian and others on the dashboard side of things, we've been starting to focus more on the back end pieces, because ultimately we know the shift is going to be more towards using Phosphor in the front and dashboarding with that. So did a analysis of the security of deploying dashboards externally from Jupyter and looking at how that might work. What's missing today with respect to like API keys and kernel gateway and things like that. And that's posted to the wiki on the GitHub repo for dashboard. So anyone that wants to take a look at that, I appreciate the feedback. It'd be great to get some feedback on that. Along the way, we're also at least looking at, what it means to move the dashboard work that we've got using Thebe to actually using Jupyter.js services and Jupyter.js output area, the new goods. We have a branch with that actually mostly working, but we're kind of dependent on IPyWidgets reaching or actually starting to use Jupyter.js services too. I forget the exact details. I wasn't the one working on that, but basically we're putting that on the shelf, and we're willing to help out with the IPyWidgets if there's some work there that we can, help contribute to get that rolling too. But I think somebody pointed out, 5.0 for IPyWidgets is probably when that'll land. So, we shelved that for the time being. But again, it was an exercise to see if we can, continue to roll forward, and we can. On the kernel gateway side, again, we did a release. It turns out, I think Kyle, you pointed out, it's actually being used in the Atom notebook now. So it was a nice surprise. Someone's actually taking advantage of it. So that's good. And we cut a stable release. I think it was a couple weeks ago, and we're kind of experimenting with what other types of APIs and protocols we can expose from the kernel gateway to the outside world while keeping 0MQ on the back. So one we had talked about earlier was, just limiting channel access so that you could have a publish-only kernel, something that uses server-sent events. That's on the radar. We're also looking at this crazy idea I had just as an experiment of, can we turn a notebook with annotations into a sort of a microservice, a REST API on the outside. So you could actually reuse the kernel running that notebook, but expose a REST API on the outside to certain cells or certain functions in it instead of the full Jupyter protocol. So again, kernel gateway being incubator, we're sort of experimenting with ideas there. Definitely welcome some feedback on that as well. But, ultimately, if we want to mature this out of there, we could refactor and split out, crazy features from, things that should be core features. I think that's it. Gino, did you want to add anything? I think Gino's on.
Yeah, just remember we did Python 2.7 support on both projects too. So that's another thing that we added.
Yep. I think that's it from us. I think you're next, man.
Yep. Various mundane things related to merging many PRs on many repos and bug fixes all over the place. Cut, I think, IPyKernel 4.2 last week with some fixes for opening new comms that will help some widget stuff. And then participating in the lengthy conversation about multi-selection UI that I think is coming to resolution, although the primary contributors on that, Brian and Matthias, are not here today. I've also been spending some time on futures, kind of rewriting some of the client-side stuff on IPython parallel using futures that should clean up some of the temporary state and get an executor API out of it, which will be nice that some people have been asking for. And then Thomas and I will be heading to CERN next week for a few days for a workshop talking about Jupyter Hub and IPython parallel and a root kernel and various other Jupyter at CERN type topics. Yeah, and that's me.
Okay, I guess I'm next. I've built out some examples on Phosphor plugins to show how you can use the plugins from either System.js or Steel.js. So it gives us options there. Whichever one ends up working better, we can choose to go with that one. Also made a plugin for Phosphide that allows you to load and unload CSS from the page as part of a plugin. So if you want to theme something, you can contribute an extension to that plugin, and then when you dispose it, the CSS goes away. And then I've been working on design of the file browser. I'm going to look at starting to actually implement that this week, and that's about it.
Okay, Darian?
So just continuing the dashboarding stuff that I've been working on for the past few weeks, I think we have a much more set idea of what the drag and drop mechanics have to be. And so in the hackpad, I actually linked to an early stage of the work in progress dashboard demo that I've been working on. And the idea is to be able to integrate lots of non-Phosphor things into the Phosphor doc panel without it being a major hassle. And so it's got like a code mirror editor in there right now and a bunch of bokeh plots because these are the sorts of things that are going to come up. It's sort of meant to just show that that's not going to be a major hassle going forward. There's still a bunch of stuff I need to do to clean it up a bit, but I think after that's done, it'll be kind of one of the things we could stick right in the center of an IDE, basically. So that's it for me.
think I'm next. So I spent the last week basically bringing the Phosphide and Jupyter repos back up to speed with the for the demo app. So just got the main demo app working again. I haven't pushed any of the changes to all on forks, just to make sure that everything's kind of sensible before we push them. But yeah, hopefully have the main app working again that people can play around with today or tomorrow. And then next, Chris has just a few minutes ago pushed an update to the command stuff, so I'll integrate all that in as well, and then see where we go from there. That's me.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. So yeah, I spent some time updating the drag and drop implementation. So as Darian mentioned, that's not at all fun. So the browser, so basically the problem with the browser spec as it stands, assuming all browsers implement it correctly, which they don't, but assuming that they did, it's got one major missing feature, and that is that you cannot start a drag and drop operation programmatically. Presumably the guy's is security because you don't want programmatic access to the clipboard, and that's all well and good. But it basically means we can't do anything that we can't start any kind of drag operation while we're also handling mouse events. So if you wanted some nice interactions where you're moving tabs around in a tab bar and then want to tear one of them off, you cannot ride on top of the drag and drop API for that because you're already handling mouse events, which means you kill the drag and drop events. So basically we've got this big gaping hole of functionality running on the native API. And then in addition to that, IE doesn't implement support for custom MIME types in the drag and drop API. So basically we can't use the native drag and drop API. All of that unwinds to mean that we had to basically re-implement the drag and drop API from scratch in JavaScript to support custom MIME types and also allow starting drag and drop operations programmatically. Of course, this is only limited to drag and drops in app because we don't have programmatic access to the clipboard or the native drag and drop APIs. But anyway, we now have an API that does what we want and it's clean. It can be used to drag arbitrary stuff around within your application. The doc panel has been updated to use that. Tab bars have been updated to use that. So all that's working now. All new releases are cut. The website demos will be updated hopefully today to reflect all of that. Actions or Darian's example that he linked to in his notes is actually running on all the new stuff, so we can see how that behaves if you want to play around with it. In addition to that, I updated phosphor commands. After some back and forth, we all decided that it's better to have commands take arguments because that'll ease a lot of pain with some of the things that we want to do in the context of an IDE, such as programmatically selecting a tab in the dock area or programmatically opening a particular sidebar widget, etc. So updated phosphor commands to now take arguments. So that'll start to integrate that into the actual phosphide here shortly. And then just some other various tweaks to phosphor plugins as those were needed. That's it for me.
Sounds like a
quick question about the drag and drop. Chris, is there a way to integrate with the native drag and drop API for stuff coming into the application? So if I have something on the desktop and I'm dragging it into the application, does that integrate with the stuff that you did?
I mean, there's nothing preventing you from using the native drag and drop APIs. Like the existence of our API is completely parallel to the native drag and drop APIs, so we don't collaborate at all. But
you don't interface with it either.
We don't interface with it.
I don't know. Okay.
No, because it's a different set of events, and so you'd have to work with that. So.
Okay.
So yeah, I think last week was Thanksgiving week. I took Thursday to Sunday off, so I was gone most of the week, kind of banished from the internet. But I finished my O'Reilly content. I got asked to re-record some of it. I accidentally changed the font on Atom partway through, so that's unfortunate to do that. And this week I'm here at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I'm going to be conducting interviews through Thursday with Brian. I'll be done with that Thursday afternoon.
And same with John. Last week for us was Thanksgiving week, and that's pretty much catch-up week for the entire quarter of schoolwork. So I'm pretty much going to finish that up and be starting on Jupyter mockups, get back on the workbench, and take a second pass at the Open Dream Kit logo for Matthias and that group. And I don't know, just ping me on GitHub if you have a problem. And that's it for me. That's up for Cal Poly today.
Okay, do we have Damian?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Yep. Go for it.
Okay. Well, essentially, we are working, some group of people here in Continuum, we are working in several NB server extensions related with the Conda and the Anaconda ecosystem. And along with that, we are getting a little bit of experience trying to package things in the current state of the notebook. And the idea is to provide people with some documentation templates and a kind of partial solution of packaging NB extension and NB server extensions in a quick and easy way using Conda, but also later or something like that, but mainly using Conda and solve that problem. So we are working on that right now.
And Bloomberg?
What? Okay, I'll go first. Let me turn back on my camera. So I was out for the holidays for the last week, but I gave a talk at BYU on the Jupyter Notebook. They all liked it. And worked a lot at the Sage Days in San Francisco, and then later with Matthias and Fernando at Bloomberg on real-time collaboration. So a lot of design discussions, and I think these have been summarized and posted up. And then worked a lot on the Jupyter.js input area, which probably will be merged today or tomorrow. So the hope is to see if we can get that into the demo app as well. It's just a very minimal notebook. It's not one of the things that are in the features for the notebook, but I think if it's ready to go, we can put it in and just see how it works.
Nice. And Sylvain?
Hey everyone, can you hear me? Yeah. So I mostly work on tradelets and IPyWidgets. At the moment, I'm looking at something that broke in the PRs that we merged yesterday. It was reported by Thomas. I hope that we'll get to release tradelets 4.1 soon. And on the IPyWidget side, I'm working on a gallery of static widgets for maybe GitHub pages, and for also things like BQPlot and PyVue.js and other relevant, significant widget libraries. That's it.
Do we have Nick?
Excuse me. Okay. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Got new headphones, so just figuring out how they work. So yeah, I've been mostly doing Thanksgiving, which was great. I was disconnected for a couple of days, and it was really nice. But in that, I did get out a NB Present and NB Browser release that I feel like are ready to be looked at. There's still dev quality and still a lot of stuff going on there, but it's been a lot of interesting work there. That's part of some of the stuff working with Damien. And in some related conversations, we've been talking about what a Jupyter extension Yeoman generator would look like with the different kinds of features in different places and handling all the config stuff. So I'll probably raise that to the list. That's about it.
Is Matthias here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there he is.
Hear me. Hey everyone, sorry I was late. So I didn't have Thanksgiving here in Europe because we don't know what it is. I worked mostly on multi-select. I finished multi-select. If people want to try, Min tried and already gave some feedback. He's mostly happy with that, except for duplicate variables. And that would be one of the last huge things for 4.1. And I also spent some time peer coding with a new contributor, teaching him again the internal of IPython, and we are trying to tackle a few bugs. So now we have a flag for to disable atomic writing that would need review if people can use that, and also works on various pieces of IPython, and that's it. Multiselect took most of my time.
Great. And Thomas, who is just back officially with us as of yesterday. I don't know if he wants to, if he's got anything to talk about. But welcome back, Thomas.
Not ready. I'm just getting computers set up and getting, back into knowing what's happening in the project. But
you fixed my English.
I will be going to Geneva on Monday.
Okay. Welcome back. And I hope all the Americans and or American residents had a good Thanksgiving last week. And everybody else happy week. That's everybody?
Yeah, I think so.
Bye, Internet.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.